Follow your logic. Xayah first pick is a high possibility. Or Samsung try and get frisky and ban one of Kalista or Xayah.
It's going to be Kalista. Okay, so the Xayah is available.
You see, on your screen, Kramer clapping. He's happy.
He looks so happy. You can see it in his face. But all right, so they will go ahead, lock that one in first here for him. 9-2 on the record, as you can see there. So has been a pretty good one for him. Samsung right now, keeping things a bit safer, a bit more mysterious as they lock in the Gragas. Could be for Cuvée, could be for Ambition. Do they want to go ahead and get something like the Braum, perhaps, in this round?
I'm really feeling it's going to be the jungle Gragas, just given Ambition's familiarity. But like you said, always the chance of a flex, and while it wouldn't be a time that you're forced to pick up Ashe, it can be more about the counter pick than anything, as, well, Marin had to deal with the Gnar twice, no wins on the Gnar, and maybe it's time for the Super Comfort. Outside chance we see Spirit take into the jungle. That has happened once before this season, and it's going to be the Lovers duo on the bot lane for Afreeca.
All right, so Xayah and Rakan snatched up as well as that Rumble. We'll see where it's going to end up, but I mean, it's Marin. It's more than likely going to be in the top lane here. But do they just go ahead and finalize the bot lane for Samsung before we enter the second round of the draft? And the answer is going to be no. It's going to be Camille picked up here for Cuvée, which means that the Gragas will, in fact, be into the jungle.
So the tank meta is going to be largely absent in this game. Top lane will be Rumble versus Camille. Had that information. Now, of course, Afreeca could rewrite that and go for a tank themselves and flex the Rumble into the jungle, given that Camille has a happy time split pushing against the Rumble as the game goes on. 4-1 on Camille this season is Cuvée. His ability on champions like Camille and the meta suiting him as we move to the Bruisers, one of the reasons why Samsung's leveled up and why our evaluation of Camille has leveled up, as Samsung's kind of splitting the difference here. They are banning away strong laners into Camille, wanting to try and force Marin onto Rumble. Marin's effective champion pool's always been pretty small. The only champions he has wins with in the summer season are Jarvan, Gragas, Renekton, and Rumble. So you pretty much know what to expect, but there are some new tanks he could play with, I guess, on 7-14.
LeBlanc, the final ban away from the mid lane. So the Cassiopeia actually available here for Crown if he wants to pick that up. Talia, again, major comfort for him. That could be brought through, or maybe we see something older like the Syndra. But focusing out against Crown is Afreeca Freecs with the Orianna taken away as well. And the Braum is available. It's made it through the draft, and it will be picked up here by Samsung.
It is kind of a counter-pick draft at this point for the side of Samsung Galaxy. They already counter-picked the Rumble, which they assume will be top lane, and they've hoped they have pigeonholed into top lane by banning away 3 champions over the course of Afreeca and Samsung's bans that Marin would like to be taking into the top lane. Cho'Gath being hovered over here, and yet we will cement that it will be a Rumble in the top lane from Afreeca. Spirit has played not that much Rek'Sai this season, it's worth noting. Mowgli's been their Rek'Sai player. Something a little bit different.
Kind of getting put in that awkward spot, so they do bring it through. We'll see how Spirit is going to perform here.
First game of the season on the Rek'Sai for Spirit. As yeah, Galio for Kuro. It's not been a favored pick recently. He was our first resident Galio, not building 3 Doran's rings, going full tank early in the season, then everyone was.
Resident sleeper is what the Galio is. Corki, now the Galio. So Kuro just bringing out all the picks that I hate, but it's going to be Cassiopeia for Crown, which is always a treat to watch.
And I will counterbalance your hate, Achilles, which, you know, is pretty well formed, with love for what Samsung's doing, because I mentioned counter-pick draft. Consider that when Galio was taken, Lucian was available, Corki was available, and the Cassiopeia could have even gone to Victor. Basically every champion we've seen as a pseudo farm lane and then potential outscale against the Galio was available. So they had this wealth of options. Crown will stick with the Cassiopeia. We know his MO. When he's feeling something, he sticks with it. It was the Syndra in spring and earlier summer seasons, being the Cassiopeia recently. And Samsung really love their draft here. They have a lot of potential win conditions. Doesn't mean Afreeca's going to roll over like they did in Game 1, but you have to like what Samsung's done on paper.
Yeah, we'll see how Ruler's going to manage here, going back over to the Ashe, which hasn't been as prevalent of a pick in today's meta, but feeling comfortable with that. Doesn't go over to the Varus again, so wants to change things up and Core JJ is back over on that Braum. We've seen him put in some serious work blocking, explosive casts with a half a second reaction time. So he's well practiced on this, and honestly, Samsung might be set up again to get control of that bottom lane.
But Afreeca need to focus on the bot lane. Game 1 was lost out of the mistakes in the 2v2. Let's see if they can shore it up.
All right, let's go ahead, jump onto the Rift for game number 2. See if Samsung can close this one out, or if Afreeca extends the series. All right, well, audience has filled up considerably since the start of the day, and it's only been about an hour, Papa Smithy, so everybody, perhaps getting out of work, making their way over to the Seoul East Stadium here in Sangam.
That fan sign on the right will be their reaction if it's an all-too-short trip for them, as could potentially be a Samsung 2-0. We like their draft, but there was a lot to like about Afreeca's that kind of were undone very early. Samsung 4-man invading, trying to get that first concussive blow stack.
Well, they do find Kuro, and he's just going to flash.
That was smart. I mean, Camille was walking over, has an auto attack reset, concussive blows applied. He was pretty close to a turret, but was not going to be giving up any level 1.
Something about 300 kilometers.
Came a long way to watch the LCK, is my read on that one. Filling in the blanks there a little bit. But big takeaway here, Achilles, is that sure, some people will say, I don't know about the flash, but you just lost a game that kind of was taken away from you very early. You know exactly how strong Braum level 1 comps are. Better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. Still will be very tanky in the mid lane, will Kuro, even without that flash for the early game, but another advantage this side of Samsung Galaxy.
All right, well, going to be starting things off over here by the Raptors, but it is spotted. Crown starting to cheat his way forward, but is standing on top of a ward on the ramp here. So likely not going to be able to run too much
Feels like
disruption.
Faker a couple of patches ago. Not going to be collapsed on, though.
Yeah, he's just poking his way in, but will not be able to find anything. So Spirit, for the most part, going to be unhindered as he moves forward. Smites to finish off that big Raptor as that red buff does come through.
And we see the return of Galio on blue side, and the Super Leash is confirmed to Spirit, who gets about as much help as possible in the Galio and the duo lanes. So happy start for Spirit, who spent the entirety of Game 1 watching Samsung take advantages.
Grand entrance there as Ruler does take quite a bit of damage there in that exchange. Core JJ just can't quite get the concussive blows rolling.
This is the game for the bot lane to really live up to some of the praise they've been getting from both casters like us and also the community for their reliably strong play earlier in the season. Unable to do that in Game 1, but Afreeca with the Galio doesn't have flash, but still wants to get as much information as possible about the order of the camps taken by Samsung, and Ambition did pass over his Raptors to get a faster red. He thought there might be an invade.
Well, the ward comes down right as Spirit enters. Keeps himself safe. Good game sense there by QV, or just good timing.
I do like Ambition going for red before Raptors, ensuring that there will be no contest. Once you know a Super Leash is happening, you can fill in the blanks.
Coming into the mid lane, but not going to be able to find anything. Justice Punch will take Kuro to safety. Let's try to get on top of him because he knows that flash is gone. Words are difficult today. He knows that the flash is gone, so wants to try to take down that Galio early on, but so far, Ambition not going to be having too much luck, but is getting some counter jungling done as he moves over to the Krugs.
Yeah, with where the minion wave was, he could have, on command, interrupted the Justice Punch out by just flashing into the AoE, but Crown would have called him away. Ambition and Spirit find each other, and there's the follow flash.
Yeah, they flash over. First one to react is going to be Kuro as Ambition starts wrapping around the other side. It's taking quite a bit of damage, and Spirit will yet again be chasing forward. Last cone available, takes himself for a ride, just trying to escape and buy as much time as possible, but Ambition will be going down, and that's going to be first blood handed over to Kuro with the double buffs.
Huh. The last bit of damage done by Kuro. I didn't see that, so interesting. That's actually really big for the side of Afreeca having double buffs onto the mid lane or his bot lane.
I mean, that's kind of terrible, but now Ruler getting jumped on the Ignite comes through Tucson. Doesn't have enough to finish him off, but maybe they can get onto Core JJ. They will proc that concussive blows here onto Tucson as he goes low. So nice trade back by the Samsung squad, but well, Ambition is kind of setting Crown up for a lot of pain.
Yeah, Kuro Won't need to be babied through lane now with double buffs. His flash is still on cooldown for about another minute, but apart from a return gank, that won't mean much. Speaking of ganks.
Yeah, coming up here. Hook shot is there, though, so QV just very easily able to dodge out. And yet again, going to get locked down. As the flash available, goes in, dashes back.
Forced the heal to be used. Don't know about actually going in with the grand entrance there. Just kind of forced a summoner out of his AD carry. Did not want to use the heal in that scenario.
And now going to be 2 to 4 in that regard for the summoner spells in the bottom lane.
I like the start, but now Spirit is ganking QV with no flash.
I think you want to try this one again, Ambition.
I think even just trying to gank a Camille with flash up as a no flash Rek'Sai was kind of a lose-lose in top lane. So start was good. Next following ganks were going to be pretty low value ones from the side of Spirit.
Well, they have the slight lead coming through at the moment. As Kuro, go ahead and just scoop up these minions.
HP regen from the red buff. Experience and gold. Kuro is happy to lap up, and soon he'll have his flash up, so rather than being exploited while his flash duration was down, which is what Samsung did to Tucson in Game 1, Kuro actually gets a bit of a donation over the way of Afreeca Freecs.
Well, going to be a bit slower paced here. Ruler and Core JJ not able to get out to that massive lead that we saw early on.
To a point, though, Hero's entrance up soon, Equalizer up soon, reliable CC, diving onto the Camille and delaying the power spikes from QV is what Afreeca Freecs want to do. It's one of the few things this draft can do in the early game to punish Samsung, who have great outscale options in other areas.
I mean, all of that can get turned around, though, once that Hextech ultimatum is available. Becomes untargetable, and he can dodge out something like the Hero's entrance knockup if he times it well enough.
So many different bits of damage to respect that be hard to get any overlap with the Hextech ultimatum, but I take your point. Never going to be guaranteed to turret dive a Camille. Speaking of turret diving Camille's.
Might be looking at it. Spirit not very tanky, so instead we'll just be going on a bit of a vision mission here.
Didn't have the minion wave where they wanted in mid lane either, so Galio hadn't begun his roam topside. Gragas will basically have to jungle around Camille in a lot of the case of the early game, and that'll be a big departure from Game 1, where he could jungle around the strong side, which was his duo lane. Jungling around the weak side is kind of a thankless task, where it looks like your jungler's not doing anything, you're looking for kill involvements, but if he's not topside for the majority of the next 5 to 10 minutes, there is going to be great turret dive opportunities for Afreeca Freecs.
Well, for now, just a handoff on that blue buff. Nobody in a comfortable enough position to really go for any aggressive plays. The bot lane has definitely been the most skirmishy that we've seen so far. But even then, it's usually just chunking each other out to about half HP. Everybody peels back. They nom some biscuits, and everyone's good.
The only person on the side of Afreeca who's opting into a long game is going to be Kramer, trying to get his item build together. Tucson also is going to be very powerful at level 16 for a Rakan. This is where Scaling's happiest. Okay, Blade Core does register.
Yeah, Ruler going low, but the dash back comes through from Tucson, so that's going to be a nice positive trade with almost really no negative aspects to it here for the side of Afreeca.
Yeah, we don't often see the feathers and the Blade Caller trades come up trumps in the early game, but that time getting a massive burst onto Ruler and forcing him back. He does have Vamp Scepter and also a refillable, so does get to be a bit of a tank when it comes to staying in lane.
Not a ton of punish going to come out because he still has the heal as well, so not even baiting that summoner spell to be used, so he's fine. But now we have the level 6 for the Ashe. Do we see the go button pressed here with that enchanted crystalline arrow?
My theory is that Afreeca are going to play pretty much like Samsung did, with Spirit jungling on the strong side, which is the top side of the map, with the Hero's entrance follow. Trying to get as many advantages as possible. Frustrated they didn't get QV's flash earlier in the piece, but I think top side is probably the more reliable thing, because they can also counter jungle Ambition pretty heavily. Like you say, bot side, they don't really have engage to Afreeca. Rakan can dive the turret, but I think Kramer's happy enough farming, and they have good disengage. I think just farming on the bot side while they can pile on gold onto Rumble and allow the first couple of equalizers to be powerful before Camille gets her items on. To me, that's the percentage play for Afreeca.
Well, right now it's basically Farming Simulator 2017.
I mean, Spirit
some
wants
action though.
He wants to end it. Galio doesn't have the wave in a great spot. This would just be a 2v1.
Well, he's starting to cut his way up now. The pings are coming down. That's going to be the equalizer thrown out as Cuve's down to half HP. Nice. He'll just get popped up. He'll hold on to the ultimatum. Doesn't blow the flash either. Knows that he's dead, so a second kill gets scooped up here by Afreeca.
Everyone was kind of holding on to objectives, like you say. They hold on to the hero's entrance, but Cuve holding on to flash means that the repeat gank that took down Tucson in the bot lane may not be as strong at taking down Cuve. Nice stuff from Marin and Spirit, though. They haven't always had the best synergy. We mentioned Spirit donating double buffs against Marin's Gnar in a previous series. This time, a lot more on the same page. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this time it was the Ambition donation. I gotta say, it does feel like Ambition and Spirit are the two junglers that are the most likely in our league to give over double buffs. Because other junglers just don't go for those plays, but they try to push the advantages.
It's a bit of a coin flip as to whether or not they do it.
Good old Ambition solo mission. I think if we explained that to him, he wouldn't be very impressed.
Maybe not. Submission position, I'm sure he'd appreciate, but the solo mission, definitely not. I think he would.
It has been 3 years of jungle solo missions for Ambition. He was doing it on CJ Entus in 2015. He's kept up appearances.
We don't talk about those dark days. I'm still waiting for the Skarner so I can reuse that that lovely image of him as.
Well, you had the Score Skarner. That's all you're gonna get for now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Even though Score could have played literally any jungler, and including Gragas especially, and it would have been better. He just decided he wanted to play one game of Skarner.
Yep. Well, now Crown getting jumped on. The taunt will come through as he gets locked in. Throws out that petrifying gaze, but not going to find it. Spirit able to turn around, but now Cuve joins in the fight. Has the hook shot, slows him up with a tactical sweep as well. Seems like they will be able to get out of here safely. No flash having to be used by the Cassiopeia.
And Crown didn't even use Cleanse because he knew that Rek'Sai didn't have flash for a follow-up knock-up. So they respected that the taunt duration wouldn't be enough to take him down. Gotta say, Samsung especially been very tricky holding on to their summoner spells in the early game here, stopping there from being any repeat ganks. That was the undoing of Afreeca.
I mean, a bit like, you know, Faker holding that flash to the last possible second that it's needed. So has been very well measured by them, but we are still just a few hundred gold separated here so far between these squads. We still haven't really seen that outburst of action yet. TP used by Kuro just to rejoin the mid lane. Spirit waits in the wings, but still does not have that flash available.
So haven't seen a single hero's entrance either. The first 12 minutes of the game. We're about to hit that tipping point where the ganking, team fighting, and also teleport using Afreeca need to make their teleports count. Whereas Samsung are happy to just pile gold onto Cuve and begin the full one-split push.
Well, Boop Up gets taken away here, picked up by, I believe, Kramer. Yeah, he's got it. I saw somebody with feathers had it, and I wasn't sure if it was Tucson or him.
We'll continue the farming in bot lane, pre-Essence Reaver. Don't think there was any mana concerns for Kramer, but the extra gold will certainly help him in his quest towards 3 items. Looking for a flare point. We're basically looking for Freecs to play to their win conditions of the draft. The impetus is on them for their early to mid-game power, but every time, Crown is able to push in Kuro and stop the hero's entrance and the potential roam with specifically Spirit. And that's pretty happy times for Samsung. We're happy to extend the game from here.
Yeah. Just keep it in the fight at the moment. I mean, bit of chip damage in onto this turret. They've knocked it down to about half HP, but still seems like Afreeca won't soon be in a position to knock that down at least. We'll take away another buff, so Red going to be going over to them this time around.
These are the sort of but these are the sort of objectives Samsung can give up, right? They're happy to give up a red buff. They recognize the power early game of Afreeca. They want to give up the minimum. A red buff is close to representing the minimum. It's just where do they draw the line in the sand, and how aggressive will Afreeca be? Because things like Rift Herald are definitely a possibility. Samsung respecting Afreeca to a great extent in the bot lane have lost a lot of turret HP, so maybe we'll see the eventual hero's entrance bot side.
Yeah, it's been that in the top lane. Both have gotten whittled away at. Of course, we had a start with a Cloud Drake, so nobody really cares about that.
Nope.
So no attention being paid to that side of the map.
Cloud Drake, certainly no Ocean Drake, which was favored actually in recent games when the tanks were on the field and you get massive value out of percentage regen. But less tanks here, so we're Infernal and Mountain all the time today.
Just not right now. It's what we want.
That's what we're looking for.
But we're not lucky enough yet. But we did a Devil Mountain in the first game, so that was nice.
Just want to see something from Afreeca. They have tools that they're not using.
I just want to see something.
I think I'm talking specifically around Afreeca because I can't fault Samsung for playing a long game. I can fault Afreeca for playing a long game.
Well, here we go. Grand Entrance coming down. Well, lockdown Ruler flashes away to keep himself safe, but the Featherstorm, rather, wow, comes out, but he still makes it out alive. Now trying to turn things around. Cuvée arriving on the backside of the teleport. Gets the kill in onto Tucson, but they're looking for much more. Flash away goes Marin as Cuvée goes into the front line. Will be taken down. An exchange here, but it's still going to be Samsung coming out on top. The 3-for-1 as Ruler tries to rejoin the fight, trying to poke this down. Maybe go for something like the turret. Seems like it might just be the Dragon now that they back off, and words are difficult.
Such a massive lead for Samsung in that fight, Achilles. On the back end, Ruler getting away, predicting the flash it looked like, or Kramer flashing into the Ash Arrow meant that he survived on a sliver of health, and at the point where they're strongest, early game when their base stats and base damage are most powerful for the tanking lineup of Afreeca, they lose a 1-for-3 trade. We're going to see the replay. First thought is to go on to Ruler, who they've DPS'd out before. This is the big investment from Afreeca to take him down. Watch at the end as the Featherstorm flashes into the Ash Arrow, or predicted, very hard to tell, so much going on. And actually does not go down, so it isn't even a 2-for-3. The equalizer, which for Marin is so usually so easy and so on point, is off point this time. And Samsung, against the flow and against their scaling, win an early game fight.
And they do. And now they just kind of take the gold lead that was there for Afreeca, and then they put it into their favor. So still 300 separating them. So nothing massive, but they pick up the Cloud Drake off the backside of that. And maybe now, with that little bit of a swing, they can get into a position to start knocking down some of these turrets.
And you start to worry. It already has been a farm fest for Crown in the mid lane, up 21 CS. Rod of Ages completed much earlier in the game. Trinity Force completed off the gold that Cuvée picked up in that engagement in the top side. And now Marin has to be a bit tricky about when he shows, because Cuvée does have great all-in options.
And he does, jumping in already. Gets that stun. You can see chunked down to below half HP as the tactical sweep just kind of tickles him. Right on that exit.
May have to use Equalizer just to clear waves and hope against hope that his teleport will come up before he gets solo killed or anything bad happens in the top side. Afreeca did not have the latitude to lose an early game fight in the manner they did, also to lose the first Drake of the game. They had so much control top side, but one failed fight, and it may all have gone out the window.
Right now they're looking for this turret. They're going to be diving in. Hero's Entrance coming through, pops them both up as Ruler goes low, gets hit by the Blade Caller. Will get taken down, but Tucson has to flash to get out from underneath the turret. Nearly falls, but Afreeca will pick up first brick.
Picking up first brick and a kill. That time, Ruler had nowhere to go back on. That time, because Crown had bought, it was perfect timing for Kuro to make the roam that he was denied for the first 18 or so minutes of the game. Nice play from them. They get a bot lane turret. They need to keep their foot on the accelerator. And right now, they don't feel that they're strong enough to set up around Rift Herald with Rek'Sai on the bot side.
Good steps here for Afreeca. So we'll be opening up a larger lead. Just kind of going to, seesaw back and forth between these two teams for the moment. We'll see what Samsung can try to do. Put themselves back onto the board here. But for now, just going to be a 1.4 thousand gold lead over to the side of the Afreeca Freecs. How long they can maintain control is going to be another question. Rift Herald, just a little bit of time left onto that if they want to try to acquire that objective.
Tucson Kramer was spotted roaming up to top, so no funny business, and there also was the Hawk shot popped out to get the full information.
Yeah, so we'll be matched here by Ruler and Core JJ, so just trying to keep that turret alive. It'll also be in the vicinity to stop something like the Rift Herald if it got started up by Afreeca.
That will be the sort of objective that, again, is the minimum standard for the draft they've picked up. It's not like they're without a hope in the late game. They do have Xayah, who has been able to farm decently, if not pick up a CS lead over Ruler any longer. But the remainder of the comp is strongest early game, so we're focused on them growing advantages, and the team fight certainly did throw away some of those.
Crown pushed very far forward. Doesn't have the flash, but just cheats down.
Has a lot of vision on the bot side, so that's why I was happy to play around the bot side of the lane. But now on the top side, and that Rift Herald that's desperately wanted. Here's the turn.
Yeah, entrance coming through. Taunt comes down, finds two as Crown tosses out that Petrifying Gaze, locks up.
Rift Herald's going to fade soon, so they have to choose here.
He's firing away with those Twin Fangs. Takes Spirit rather low. Ashero coming through. Nice Feather Storm by Kramer. We'll get the dodge out. If he had gotten locked down, likely would have seen the Explosive Cask out for him. Ambition to isolate him, and he could have gone down. So good little dodge there, but no one's going to be getting that Rift Herald at the end of the day.
And that's a big win for Samsung, who did not want to have to invest a teleport to stop the Rift Herald from going down. Continue to have Cuvée in a short lane against Marin, top lane.
Oh, they're coming in, but that Winter's Bite was actually eaten by Tucson, just body blocked it. Now the Hero's Entrance coming through. Spirit nearby as well as they try to get in on top of Ruler. Where JJ will throw down that Glacial Fissure. TP coming through from Cuvée, now joining the fight. See who he's going to try to acquire as a target. Finds the Xayah, takes out Kramer first and foremost, then helps follow up to get rid of Marin. And now Samsung are in a perfect position to go ahead and knock down their first turn of the game here in the top lane.
Surprisingly, the teleports haven't been working. Kuro's just trying to delay what looks like an inevitable turret take. He's very tanky.
Yeah, Cuvée diving in, takes the hook shot over the wall to get himself out to safety, but they're going to have to surrender this one. 2 members down, turret going over to Samsung, and yet again, gold lead swinging over into their favor.
Yeah, amazingly, in teleport plays, Samsung are trading up again and
he's
again.
Looking for more, gets the stun in onto Spirit. Can he finish him off? Has the tunnel, flashes in. Of course, the tactical sweep, but the knock-up is there. And
no
Cuvée,
cooldowns.
Yeah, will have to peel back, so Spirit barely stays alive. Cuvée a little bit too greedy, as he almost gets punished there by the Galio.
He may not get the icing on the cake, but in every other way, Samsung get exactly what they want. Continue to trade up in these teleport plays that Afreeca are set up to win. We're talking about early game fights with a Rumble and Galio who are both farmed. Instead, just not being smart at choosing their engage. The teleports being a bit off from the side of Marin, and Cuvée doing really good skirmish. We're going to see another replay. This begins with Samsung going pretty aggressive onto Afreeca. They deny a lot of damage, but now we see the ultimate coming. You think that Galio and Rumble will be able to turn this, but the teleport doesn't lead to much. Cassiopeia groups with Ruler. We now see the AD carry and Cassiopeia duo together, and Cuvée creates so much space. There's no threat on the back line. They have a lot of threat on Afreeca's front line, and ends up being another team fight win for Samsung.
And Marin didn't really, again, have a great equalizer. Just kind of threw it down in the middle of the lane. Got a little bit of damage down onto Crown, but he only has the Leandries. He's just tickling the Cassiopeia at this point.
It's been a pretty poor series from Marin, all in all. Thought this would be his meta on 7-14, but hasn't been able to find the Maokai that they banned on blue side. Goes back to his trusty Rumble, and that hasn't found any advantages either. Cuvée, in comparison, happy to take the Camille matchup into the Rumble, deny away some of the other tank pitch-ups and not allow there to be a flex of the Rumble jungle, and really is profiting in that scenario.
Samsung now going to go ahead and pick up their second Drake of the game. What do you know? It's another Cloud Drake. Snatch that up. Nice. Ash Arrow comes through, locks right in onto Tucson, and they take him down. Twin Fangs there from Crown doing so much damage. Nearly has that full stack on the Rod of Ages completed.
Samsung with these comfort drafts, to some degree, Game 2 is a comfort draft with what they've been playing recently. So much better than what they were attempting to do against KT Rolster. Just wasn't coming together for Samsung Galaxy on the day. And we have to remember that, sure, they lost a 3-game series to KT Rolster, but that was with Haru playing all 3 games. Ambition comes back in, fitting the tank meta, jungling very happily, even if it hasn't necessarily been him carrying his top lane.
Equalizer comes down. Spirit going to be looking for the knock-up, but he does not have the flash. The tactical sweep will slow them up. Rocket slows up Cuvée as well, throws on that Hextech ultimatum as Core JJ now starts arriving. So he'll just get himself out to safety.
It wasn't even needed, Cuvée was. But Chutney Force already completed, showed enough cooldown on the hook shot that you max second, able to get out very comfortably. We'll continue to pile on CS and soon be able to match Marin in that area, and just everything looking pretty damn simple for the side of Samsung.
Well, Kuro is trying to be as big of a tank as he possibly can. Has that Thornmail completed in the mid lane. We'll finally get an Infernal Drake spawning in about 4.5 minutes time. Samsung, not as large as we saw in Game 1. I mean, Game 1 was ending in 6 minutes from now, basically. But they do have themselves in a nice position here at 24 minutes. They have a lead.
Sort of gold lead that may not be as influential as our Kalista 4 tank comps. We're kind of close to that from Afreeca, who really are centered around the early game. The moment you see Galio, you know the focus on early to mid game, and being 2,000 gold behind is one of those situations where it's extra humidity if it was a weather report. There's other factors involved here that means that the gold lead is implied bigger for the side of Samsung Galaxy. They have the 2 Drakes as well. They're in a really comfortable spot because so far every team fight has been won against the tide by Samsung.
It's been solid cohesion from them in those fights. And I mean, honestly, just think, how different would things be if Marin was actually landing these equalizers in a better spot? Obviously, he's not doing the most damage at the moment, having to go with this defensive build with the Zhonya's Hourglass coming through. But still could, dissuade Samsung from pushing in, from scooping up those extra kills that they've been able to get.
They just haven't been able to make the plays they expected. They got the 1 turret dive onto Cuvée, but it was never the Rek'Sai knock up into the Hero's Entrance. The Hero's Entrance has been used very defensively. It reminds me of the many games we've seen Achilles where Xeno is used completely defensively rather than as a secondary initiation tool. They've been very reactive, Afreeca, with a proactive draft. And Samsung, with a very different focus, have been able to get a lot of advantage. And they're even looking for a blue buff still to get it.
Oh, and Ambition, yep, just takes that one away. It's quicker with the trigger finger. Smites that one out. It's nicely done. Good takeaway. And it's a bit of a revenge considering how many buffs Samsung were punished for in the early game. Ground pushing in, looking to clear out that ward. And Spirit comes over the wall, flashes in for the pop-up. Hero's Entrance coming down. Will knock up Core JJ. Not the target that they wanted, and he's going to counter with that Glacial Fissure coming down, but the rest of the squad isn't really there. Ruler kind of isolated, can't pinch in because everybody could just turn in onto the Ashe.
Meanwhile,
so instead, it's going to be a bit of a stalemate there in the mid lane, but as you say, meanwhile, Cuvée in the bottom side of the map is split pushing to knock down that tier 2 turret, and seems like he's going to be able to get it.
It's not really any point for Marin to enter lane against Cuvée. We've hit that tipping point with Ravenous Hydra. He'll be able to lifesteal through Marin's damage, potentially kill him. Samsung turn onto the Baron, and Afreeca, they've got no good options.
I mean, it is spotted out here. The Scrying Orb comes down, so Samsung will go ahead and peel off his crown. I mean, just sort of desperately fires away into Kuro, but he's not getting too much done. But Cuvée, on the other hand, yet again, is just doing serious work here for the squad. Has that split push going in the bottom lane. He's going to be knocking down the inhib turret here in a matter of seconds, right after he gets a solo kill on Marin.
That's what no good options looks like, Achilles. He had to enter lane eventually against Cuvée, but has no ability to stand 1v1. Afreeca sending all their members, giving up any hopes of picking up Baron. They want to at least kill the Camille.
We'll see if they can do that. Technical sweep. Yeah, there's a lot of damage still there from Kramer with the 2 items completed, but that is the Baron going over to Samsung. Happy to make that trade is Cuvée. So just gives his life up for the betterment of the team, and Samsung will go ahead, put their 5th turret on the board here as they knock down this outer and mid.
It's not often you can take a clean Baron with the outer turret and mid still up for the enemy team.
That is a rarity.
But at the same time as the outer mid lane turret was up, Camille was solo killing a Rumble next to the inhibitor turret and turning on to that inhibitor. So we're going to see the replay. It's not as dramatic as you'd like to be. Not the sort of thing you can criticize Marin for. He's doing his best. He did not want to be entering this lane. That's why he was grouped with the team earlier. But the moment that Cuvée decides he wants to kill Marin, he has the Hextech ultimatum to guarantee that. Zhonya's wasn't used there, so you could maybe say that Marin could have bought a bit more time. But even if he flashed, even with everything up, Cuvée also had flash up, so he would have died in that same scenario, and he wants to keep things up for some sort of all-in play. It just might now be too late.
Yeah, I mean, Cuvée just looks at somebody the wrong way, and they pretty much die. 200 yards away with mind bullets.
Kramer's finding bullets of his own.
Okay, he's going to flash away. Glacial Fissure comes down as they desperately try to hold on to this tier 2 turret here in the mid lane. Cuvée, seeing how much damage he can do to Kuro. The answer is quite a bit, because we're watching his health bar drop there. He's locked into that Hextech ultimatum, has that Hero's Entrance to try to get out, but hey, there's no way to leave, my friend, so he is just going to get punished in one of the funniest deaths that I've seen in a while. Cuvée able to take the hook shot over the wall.
Least triumphant Galio ultimate ever.
Oh, it was so pathetic. But Samsung, they'll knock down that tier 2 turret as Crown keeps moving up the minions towards that inhibitor in the bottom side of the map.
And the Hextech ultimatum's not messing with anyone, Achilles. No one can leave, and that includes Galio, whose Hero's Entrance was comical to say the minimum. They're split pushing bot side, they're pushing the mid lane inhibitor. It's going to be a quick 2-0 for Samsung. We're just waiting for them to close out the series.
Oh, if you clipped that, please tweet that at me. I'd love to watch it as soon as the game is over, but here we go, because it's pretty much going to be over very shortly. Just before 30 minutes now. Samsung looking for the finish. Already have that one inhib down in the bottom side. Will knock out the mid as well. See how long they want to stick around. Kuro is back. He is alive. Seems like they will go ahead and just exit the base. Likely take this Infernal Drake. Go back by. And then go for that final push.
Really interesting series. It's been very one-sided, so I can understand someone not taking a lot from it. But in the long view of what this means going forward, we had a game one where Samsung, with a pretty narrow win condition of, well, our duo lane does well early, let's see what we can make of it, got the maximum. And this game, when Afreeca was strongest, there was mistakes from Afreeca where Samsung got a lot of advantage. We see the replay. You can't leave. You just can't. There's nowhere to go. Sorry, Kuro. You may have been able to target someone, but that was only going to be 1.25 seconds of untargetability. You're still going to remain in the Hextech ultimatum, and you're still going to die.
And die he did. Well, Super Creeps in 2 lanes, nearly a 10,000 gold lead here for Samsung. Infernal Drake in it there. War Chest as well, as Martin's just going to get popped up. Has a nice equalizer this time, but he's all alone, so he's just going to die.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Cube will get jumped on. Hero's entrance coming through, but he dodges it out, has that nice ultimatum, but he still will get taunted up by Kuro, who tries to get some revenge, but it's bit of a petty squabble at this point because they're still losing out across the map.
I mean, I guess he can feel good about dodging the knock-up with the Hextech ultimatum. He was going to die anyway, but his team at the same time piling into the top side, so his death certainly not going to be consequential. Kuro's really hard to kill, but that's about all Afreeca have going for them.
Samsung just going to go ahead and look to close this one out by checking off all the boxes on the to-do list. Every single turret, every single inhib. Nearly there.
So important for Samsung to pick up this match victory after 2 losses in a row.
Yeah, especially with a 2-0.
They still have a chance to pip Longzhu to the point. In the gauntlet system, the team that finishes first waits in the grand final. They want to be that team. If Samsung win here, they have one more match played than Longzhu and KT, but they will also be on 12 wins. They still play against Longzhu on the last day of the season. They may still have their fates in their own hands.
This be a very nice step in the right direction, especially after that loss against MVP. Samsung seem to be turning all of that bad luck around. Not even bad luck, they just played poorly. And MVP played well.
There was definitely some champions they didn't seem to be great at playing. The Tristana was a low light for Ruler. They made some mistakes, like you say. Almost perfect game by KT Rolster on their early game comp, but their early games have been so much cleaner against the Freecs, who we had high hopes for, but have not performed so far on 7-14.
Yeah, I mean, 0-12 in that game 2 versus KT. So was pretty rough stuff. Very much like how this game is rough now for Freecs. And the lead for the longest time. And you can see just Cube, he just wants to inch up every now and then and get a hit in, because a few more times that happens, he's going to be getting rid of that first inhib turret. Now the engage coming through. Glacial Fissure comes down. Equalizer thrown out by Marin. He's in a pretty good spot. They will get Ruler, but look at this. Everybody just getting annihilated by Crown. Comes up with the double kill, makes it a triple as he gets rid of Marin. And the Super Creeps, in the meantime, are going to go ahead and start knocking down these Nexus turrets. They will fall. Kuro gonna die. Quadra kill going over to Crown. Can he get the Penta Spirit? My God, just hand it to the man. And he's not going to do so. That's just going to be the end of the game. 33.5 minutes in. Samsung will complete it. They're going to go for it. Can they find it? A couple more Twin Fangs from Crown to finish this one off. He's so tanky, but he gets it in the end. Pentakill over to Crown. The 2-0 for Samsung. 14-9 at the end. They will walk away with a victory.
Pentakill, and sure, his screen goes great, but he can celebrate. High fives to the team. They made the turret dive work that SKT could not last season. And Samsung Galaxy annihilate Afreeca Freecs to keep their slim chances of being first in the regular season alive.
A much-needed win, a much-needed turnaround performance here for Crown, who was looking a bit inconsistent in his recent games.
I mean, the moment he jumped onto the Cassiopeia for the first time about a week ago, he looked better. Yeah. They've been able to rely on Crown having lane pressure on the Cassiopeia, and we know he can play the Taliyah. We know he has other strings to his bow, but the Cassiopeia that he had not played with any frequency in 2017 is now, like the Syndra, joining that war chest of picks that he can find lane pressure on, that they can win games on, and Afreeca have just been blown out of the water. We had optimism for them and what represented a tank meta, but they seem to just not be misfiring in basically every way. Game 1 lost around their duo lane. Game 2, they had so much power in the early game around team fights, but then lost team fights, and sure, by the time it got comically late, they could layer the equalizer, but the equalizer earlier weren't working. The ultimate there, the petrifying gaze from Crown, was what really started off the trend, and the Samsung Galaxy just paid him back by helping him get the penta in the fountain.
Absolute destruction of Afreeca in a matter of seconds, and I'm sure, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get another look at this one. So many teams have tried this, and very few succeed.
Let's see who led the charge. Well, Ambition was the man.
He goes
He went in. Juve gave up his life. They had to have a lot of people give up their lives, and Crown pentakill and execute. Happy, happy times for Samsung fans, and they look great in this game.
All the way through. That Seraph's Embrace shield as well, so it's just stacking on everything that they possibly could to secure the pentakill. So Crown goes ahead, snatches that for himself. The Org will find a 2-0 victory. Like you said, keep that first place hope alive. Still a ways to go, but by the end of that one, Crown yet again topping the damage charts, but this time by a mile.
Probably also going to top the MVP charts by a mile as well, you would think. Pentakills are almost always a free MVP win.
Sorry, we say kilometers here. By a kilometer, which is not as big as it. Okay, whatever.
I know what kilometers are.
He did a lot of damage.
I say miles because it's what Americans say, and we got a lot of American viewers here today. Afreeca Freecs, oh boy. They had a lot of problems in this series, and
just assume Twitch chat's nationality.
Some of them.
Okay.
There's a couple of them in there, that part I'll guarantee. And Juve, because of his solid play on the Camille, actually denies us an MVP interview with our Pentakiller.
Yep, no, not going to be handed over to Crown, and Juve just now one win behind, to tie Crown, who is up near the top of the standings. Still trying to catch up Jakuro, who is going to be, one of the biggest losers here in this match.
And the biggest losers in the early game were Afreeca, who had Galio and Rumble, and yet they were out-team fought multiple times by specifically Juve, but Samsung Galaxy as a team. First of two equalizers that went just too far wide. Marin reading it as a team fight win for Afreeca and trying to get stragglers as they went back to their own turret. Instead it was actually team fight wins for the side of Samsung Galaxy, so the ults just looked silly. Juve in the front line as Marin once again gives up his life in the back line. Samsung Galaxy beating Afreeca Freecs, who are all at sea.
Juve just disgusting on this Camille. It's just, it's one of those things where it's kind of like maybe you need to ban this away from Juve. But they leave it open, and they get punished for it. The nice deny. I can't actually, I'm kind of glad that Juve won. As much as I want to hear from Crown after the pentakill, I really want to hear the commentary and the questions being asked by Cloud Templar in regards to that play.
May ask him if he knew the interaction, as this was the point where Samsung got to have the current on top of the icing, on top of the cake that he got to eat. Crown, but the lovely instant pentakill and also gray screen of execution. The stay of execution wasn't extended to Afreeca. The firing squad was Samsung Galaxy, and now we get an MVP interview.
Yeah, we do. All right, let's go ahead and throw it over to Joel for the translation. So take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview translations. We're here with Samsung, picking up a 2-0 victory against Afreeca Freecs. And we're here with today's MVPs, Juve and Core JJ for the interview. Sure, it's a feel-good win for you guys today. How do you feel? Yeah, it was a relatively lost streak from our standards, so getting a win back today was really important for us. I think it was a satisfying performance from all of us, from the whole perspective. And a lot of people have been worried because you guys have been playing really solid, but getting the loss consecutive in the lead of the season. But how do you feel about that right now? I think, you know, a lot of teams say this, but it's all about limiting mistakes, and that's kind of what we've not been doing as well in the recent forms, and I'm glad we were able to actually do that today.
삼성은 참 재밌는 게 그 바루스 자이라 기가 막히게 잘 쓰는
And a lot of people have a big picture of Samsung with having Varus and Zyra in the bot lane as kind of a staple pick for you guys.
저는 일단 괜찮다라고 생각하는 면도
Yeah, I feel like it was a good duo to always go with, and that's the duo that we have a lot of wins on and have a lot of good win rates on there as well. So that's kind of what we consider our comfort picks as well.
바루스 자이라를 가져오게 된 어떤 그 의도라든지 각이 좀 나왔나요?
Do you have a certain intentions of why you went Varus and Zyra this time around?
이거 그냥 바로 사이로 하면 라인전 터트릴 수 있겠는데 이 생각이
Yeah, as soon as we got the Zyra, I just told Ruler to grab the Varus and we'll probably just destroy lane after that.
하나가 결국에 생존기가 많긴 한데 견제기가 없어가지고
Yeah, Tristana has a lot of escapes, but without, you know, being dominating in lane, without winning in lane, it really doesn't do much for the laning phase. So as long as we can beat them in lane, it was going to be a very much a win for us.
되게 중요하다고 생각했거든요. 자이라 쪽에서도 혹은 쓰레시 쪽에서도. 근데 뭐 엠비션 선수와 설계가 다 됐던 건가요? 엠비션
And was it
빠르게 찌르면서
the laning matchup between Zyra and Thresh was a confusing one because the jungler could have made all the difference.
먼저 터트린 쪽이 게임 이긴다.
Yeah, I told Ambition that whoever wins the bot lane matchup will win the match, and that's kind of what I told Ambition. He understood that firmly, so that's why he invested a lot of time in the bot lane.
편하게 승리를 가져가셨네요.
네,
So after winning the bot lane, did you guys feel comfortable for the win?
선수는 그냥 묵묵히 라인전을 하고 있었어요.
And alongside that, Cube, you were just kind of in the top lane, just kind of chilling and taking it easy, not getting much camera action on that one.
아직도 좀 많이 연구 단계인 것 같아요.
I think this current meta is currently in experiment, and a lot of experiments are going on with players. But with the biggest changes coming to the top lane, we have to see how it actually works out. But Maokai is one of those things that we have to keep watching out for.
그래서 1세트의 가장 결정적인 장면이 이제 바론을 사이에 두고 자이라의 기가 막힌
And we felt like the decisive moment in game one, as we're going to see in the video here, was around the Baron pit when Zyra's ult basically started up everything.
계속 슈퍼 세이브를 많이 했었거든요.
그 확신이 들었나요?
아니요, 그 솔트 대회 당시에는 아유 내가 너무 빨리 썼는데.
Yeah, I felt like, you know, when I actually used the W right there, when I used the roots right there, then I thought I shot it a little bit too early, but unfortunately it hit, and that allowed for the change CC to go off.
또 우리 짬이 등장을 했습니다.
예. 아 그래서 오늘 2세트 경기 얘기하기 전에
And we want to talk about the second game as well.
설명을 하실 수 있는 기회를 드리면 좋을 것 같아요. 지난번에
왜 안 오냐?
카밀이 안 와서
I wonder, you know, if we can give you a chance to make a little bit of an excuse for why your Camille wasn't as good in previous matches, if you can remember those moments.
팀적으로 제가 이제 밀면서 혹시 막을 수 있냐 물어봤는데.
Yeah, I always say because Camille's gonna be a pushing champion, and whenever I push and you guys kind of get the disadvantages from that, it's not really my fault. But so that's just something I have no control of. I'm just gonna be doing the same way with Camille every time.
아 이건 그런 판단은 이제 한 명만의 잘못은 아니기 때문에.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you have a pushing champion, I think that the whole team is supposed to take responsibility in making that happen in the as smooth as possible.
수 있는 상황이었으니까 뭐 리스크 있는 플레이긴 했습니다. 충분히 뭐 오늘은 어땠어요 그러면?
Well, how was it today?
정확하게 잘된 것 같아요.
Doing the same thing once again with the Camille.
초반에 좀 약간 불리하게 했어도 저희가 좀 중반부터 좀 잘 받아.
Yeah, I think in the early game we were a little bit behind, and I thought we kind of got back once we were in the mid game, and that's kind of we drove that opportunity and took those advantages a little bit forward.
네, 라인전 자체는 이게 푸시력이 눈물이 세가지고 좀 받아먹는 상황이 많이 나와요.
Yeah, with the laning phases, the early game will always go to Rumble with the pushing power towards its favor, but once you become patient and get a little bit opportunistic with the things that are given to you, it's much better.
짜밀이 활약하는 그런 장면이 많이 나오는 것 같은데 2세트 활약상 한번.
And I think we have a video highlight that we can look at.
이거는
yes.
잡았다라고 생각하셨나요 바로?
Did you know? Were you sure? Yeah, were you sure you were gonna get that kill? Yeah, as soon as I got my initial combos in, I knew I was gonna get the kill.
어떻게 보면 화제 장면에 꼽힐 만한 그런 장면이 연출됐습니다. 그리고 마지막에 이제 요 펜타킬
And near the end, the curiosity question we have to ask is the pentakill that you guys somehow got in the end.
갈리오 잡을 때 제가 일단 막타를 안 쳤어요. 일부러 좀 불리하고.
Yeah, when we were about to kill Galley, I tried my best not to get the last hit to give it to Crown, so that worked out, but I didn't think we were going to go for the pentakill right there.
장면 있거든요.
And we do have a video highlight of that as well.
저희가 팩트로 말을 해야 됩니다. 보겠습니다.
어느 타이밍부터 콜이 나왔죠?
When did the call come up right here?
잡고 나서 바로 쿨 나왔어요.
Yeah, I think a few hits towards the Nexus, we kind of knew that we were going to go in.
잡자 하는데
나가요 바로. 한게 없어요.
And Core JJ escapes immediately. He didn't want to get killed.
신용만 한 거 아니에요?
Did you give up on the pentakill?
Q가 생명이기 때문에.
Oh no, you know, getting the Q was basically all of my role, so I did my job and then it got out, so I did my job for sure.
KDA player.
생각보다 많이 안 닿는 것 같아가지고.
Yeah, I think as soon as I went to the fountain, we were kind of attacking, but the health bar wasn't going down as fast as we thought, so I kind of stepped out, thinking I was gonna die. So I think I did a good job on my decisions.
MVP 아니라서 좀 서운해하든가 뭐 그러지 않았나요?
And wasn't Crown disappointed that he didn't get the MVP?
팀의 승리가 우선이라서 뭐
You know, he always says that the team winning is the most important thing, and
아까 룰러
so he seems to be not worried about that.
뭐 그러시던데요.
아직 얘가 어려서 그래요.
Yeah, I think especially with Ruler not wanting getting the MVP, he's just a little bit young, so I think he's a little bit greedy for the unimportant stuff.
그런 거에 코장 선수도 별로 욕심이 없나요?
Core JJ, are you not greedy for the MVPs?
큐베가 MVP를 가져가더라고요.
Yeah, I think for situations where I should get the MVP, it just always seems like Cuvee gets the MVPs, and I hope he one day realizes that he's not the deserving of all the MVPs that he's getting.
끊고 또 승리까지 가져가셨는데 이제 남은 매치가 타이거즈전과 그리고 롱주전.
Yeah, Tigers and Longsu coming up in the
두고 있습니다.
upcoming matches for you guys. Do you have anything to say regarding those matches coming up?
마지막에 이제 서머 시즌 2경기 남았는데.
Yeah, we have 2 games in the summer season remaining, and
생각하고
we will take those games as seriously as we've always been. And hopefully we can get a little bump up in the rankings and hopefully end up in the highest position as we can.
감사 인사 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
Anything you'd like to say as well, Cuvee?
뭐 항상 찾아와줘서 감사드리고.
Well, we always thank you guys for always coming out to watch us and cheer for us, and we'll just continue to ask for your support.
큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
And that seems to be the end of the interview. Back over to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. So yeah, Core JJ, the KDA player, as you see, Papa Smith, he was getting out of dodge. Didn't want to die for that pentakill, but they got it in the end. It was a team effort all the same. They come up with a victory as well, so it's a good day to be a Samsung fan.
Yeah, snapping that 2-game loss streak also pushes themselves up to 12 wins at the top of the table. Boy, do we have some juicy matchups between these top teams, and also for the Afreeca Freecs, because Afreeca and Jin Air are fighting for what it seems like likely to be the final spot in the rankings. They are 1 match ahead. Jin Air has to play Longzhu in the next match. Let's assume they lose that. From then on, both teams play MVP and Everett. So those are 2 games that maybe both teams will win, but MVP has been better recently. But you know what the best part is, Achilles? Their last match of the season is against each other. So the head-to-head may be decided by Afreeca versus Jin Air on the last day of the season.
Yeah, so I mean, could be, maybe even just a precursor to the final itself at the end of the split. But coming up next, it's going to be Longzhu, as we were talking about, going up against Jin Air Green Wings. Now, guys, we had a very swift first set here, 2-0 over to Samsung, so we're going to have a bit of an extended break yet again before we're able to dive into those games. It's going to be about an hour until we're going to be back on screen with these, I won't say beautiful faces, but faces. You can apply the adjective.
Beautiful.
Whatever you think.
I apply beautiful.
All right. I won't force
LPL's on, so go watch that. But in an hour, 15 minutes, it's Longzhu, the top-ranked team. I know you want to see them.
Yep. In the meantime, I'm going to go take a nap because I'm going to be try to be awake as much as possible for this second series. So we'll see you guys in an hour when we come back.